We all have a story. Your story is not my story, and my story is not yours. However, we can find joy, hope, and emotional healing even through our most painful moments in life. Let's walk and take this journey of healing together, one step at a time, because your story does not define you. Hello, God's beautiful people. It's a beautiful day always, even when it doesn't feel like it. We were blessed to see another day, and God's grace and His mercy has shined upon us once again. So, yeah, let's celebrate it and find joy in this day. Many people didn't wake up today. However, if you are listening to the podcast, that means you are one of the ones who did. So, we definitely want to rejoice in this day and make it a beautiful day. What a blessing. Dr. Naisha here, and thank you for joining me once again on Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I want to say welcome and thank you so much for listening in. It's always a blessing to have you to join me on this podcast. And I would love to ask you if you could follow this podcast and share it with your friend and just get the word out as we are trying to share this podcast and encourage people to tune in and hear and listen to our stories as we talk about different stories and different experiences that people have experienced. As sometimes people think that you are on an island on your by yourself and that you may be the only person experiencing something. However, as we listen and tell our stories, we discover that there are so many people going through the same or similar things that we are. So, telling our stories are so freeing and they provide emotional and mental healing. And we want to be in a space to where we can continue our healing journey. And if we haven't quite got to where we started, we want to start our healing journey and not just be healed, but we want to get to a space where we can be made whole. So, what is your vibe today? Because remember, you decide your vibe. What emotional state or mood are you in today? My vibe today has been a little bit on do not disturb. For me, I've definitely been in a space where I have been having a lot of things on my mind and trying to be intentional about processing some things and trying to figure out what my next steps are going to look like. And when I'm in this space, I oftentimes don't like to have a lot of conversations with people on the telephone. And I don't like to have a lot of text conversations because it's almost like I'm in a zone and I'm just trying to focus and trying to take things in and then also trying to listen to God. Today is Sunday, so this was a day for me that I was at church and I got a lot and received a lot today just from the different speakers that I heard on today because I attended our morning evangelism class this morning. I attended the regular service this morning, and then I also attended an afternoon service. So definitely been trying to take in things that will help me as I'm processing all of this stuff because I definitely want to make sure that I'm hearing from God when I make these decisions. So it's really important that we assess our vibe for the day, that we do our daily self checks and see where we're at for the day. And based on what we think our vibe is for the day, we might have to make some adjustments. So that could look like some attitude adjustments. It could be incorporating some self care to help shift our mood, or it could just be us being aware of what mental space we are in for the day and just knowing how much we can handle for the day and what we cannot handle. So it's important that you continue to do your daily self checks and ask yourself the question when you get up in the morning and start your day. What is my vibe today? And not only just knowing what your vibe is, but what vibe do you want for the day if when you wake up, your vibe is not a good vibe? So continue to do your self checks. So, I have been doing a lot of thinking and talking to God lately about the podcast and asking Him and trying to get direction on what way I should go with the podcast, about topics, about guests who I'll ask to be on the podcast, all of the things, because I really want to be led by God and I want Him to be the driver of this podcast, as I want you and I both to maximize this space and for it to be exactly what it was designed to be. And that is a platform where we could tell our stories and find joy, hope, and emotional healing, and really learn how to live an abundant life through and in the hurt and the pain. So, one thing about this podcast is that we have not arrived. So, with me saying that, that just means that we're still dealing with things every day that we still need to continue to work on. And sometimes some of the things that we are dealing with are painful. So we want to make sure that we are in a space that we can still live an abundant life, even when we're going through something that's hurtful and that's painful. So that just means that we don't have to allow ourselves to be in a position to where we give up and where we lose all hope. However, we can keep trucking along and making steps to make it through every single day. So, what God gave to me is that in order for us to achieve the goal of this podcast and for us to get to a place where true healing can take place, that we have to be in a position and have to be in a posture to receive. And one thing that I've discovered as a therapist who works with people all the time, and also just being an individual who is also experiencing life and dealing with my own life challenges and my own human emotions, I noticed that in order for us to heal and grow, that we have to be open to receiving. We have to be in a place where we can allow ourselves to receive all of the things that we need to receive. And receiving is just allowing ourselves to be in a position to obtain, acquire, gain, or accept something. And in order for us to get in the posture to receive, we have to open the door to our hearts. And opening the door to our hearts means that we are giving ourselves access and adjusting and moving barriers to receive God, to receive emotional healing, to receive freedom, to receive love and to give love, to receive therapy, to receive forgiveness and to forgive, to receive growth, to receive relationships, to receive feedback from the doctor and from others, to receive resources, to receive insight about ourselves and who we are, to receive truth, to receive wholeness, and most importantly, to let some things go. Our hearts have to be open. And opening our hearts can be transformative as it encourages us and requires us to be in a place of vulnerability. Now, when I talk about vulnerability, I don't mean being vulnerable in the sense that we allow somebody to take advantage of us. However, being vulnerable requires us to be vulnerable in a good way. And that's just learning how to lean in and be honest with ourselves and open to do what it takes to get through the challenges in life, as well as to learn how to do the work to attain emotional healing and emotional wholeness. We have to get to a place where we allow full access for our hearts to be nurtured and cultivated for growth to happen. Being mindful of what we allow into our lives and being receptive to God's presence and His guidance. And in doing this, we have to close the doors of fear and doubt and rid ourselves of all of the toxic things in our lives that are stunting our growth and tend to the soil of our hearts. Getting rid of shame, guilt, and pride to allow ourselves to receive all of the good things God has for us. It's really hard sometimes to shut doors because of what we are afraid that might happen if we shut the door. But again, we have to close the doors of fear and doubt and get rid of all of the things that are bringing toxic pieces into our life and shut those doors and allow ourselves to open the doors to receive all of the things that are going to help us and to move us forward. Today in church, I was in my evangelism class, and a sister of mine named Marie taught our class today. And when she was teaching, she said something that was so profound in our class. And what she shared is that we have to keep our spirit free from debris. And when she said that, I was like, wow, that was so powerful. We have to keep our spirit free from debris. The way that I interpreted that is that we have to continuously tend to our hearts and our minds and don't allow negative things to get in our way. And we do this by being intentional. There are a lot of things in our lives that are beyond our control, that we have no complete control over. However, there are a lot of things in our lives that we do have control over. We have control over the way that we show up for ourselves, and we can control how we cultivate our hearts. We can control what we allow in our spirits and what we reject. We control if we want to believe suggestions from the enemy, which are negative thoughts that we let ourselves believe, and lies that we tell ourselves and that we allow ourselves to believe that other people say about us. We control our attitudes and being accountable for our actions and being honest about the things that we know we need to work on. We can control if we choose to live, or we can control if we allow ourselves to lay down and die. Believe it or not, we have more control over our lives than we think we do. One thing for sure is that God gives us freedom of choice, and He definitely does not force anything on us. And sometimes we think that when we are dealing with certain situations in our lives, that we absolutely have no control over it. However, we have control, again, over more things than we actually think we do. Dr. Anita Phillips, a trauma therapist and a New York Times bestselling author of the book, The Garden Within, tells us best how God has planted a garden within us and how our heart is our soil, and the fruits that we produce are based on how we cultivate the soil in the garden within us. As she further states, just like we tend to the gardens in the natural, and we do things to make sure that the soil is good for the seeds to grow in our garden or the plants that we've planted to grow. Things like tilling the soil, watering the soil, and giving it sunlight and getting rid of the weeds. We have to do the same thing within our hearts by examining what type of soil we have now. What position is your heart in? We have to be in a space where we position our hearts for growth. And we get in this position by opening our hearts to receive, checking our heart condition. So I want you to take a moment and I want you to check your heart condition. What heart condition are you in right now? What does your soil look like? Do you feel like your soil is in a condition to where it can produce growth? Or do you feel like your soil needs some TLC, some tender loving care? Now, God gave Dr. Nita Phillips a revelation to really expound and explain to us, to help us truly understand how God has planted a garden within us and how it's so important for us to tend to the garden that's within us, and most of all, to tend to the soil of our hearts. So if you have not got the opportunity to check out Dr. Anita Phillips' book, The Garden Within, I definitely encourage you to check out her book and purchase it anywhere books are sold. because I guarantee you will not be disappointed, as that book is definitely life-changing and really helping us to understand how God planted this garden within us and what we can do to really cultivate and grow the garden that's within us. Now, if we look at our body's natural heart and the heart function and the main function of our body's heart, one of the main functions of our heart is to move blood throughout our body. Blood brings oxygen and nutrients to our cells, and it also takes away carbon dioxide and other wastes that are not good for our body's proper functioning. So, if we look at the natural heart's functioning, and if we can keep this in mind, a healthy heart helps to give us the necessities for a healthy mind and emotional well being, and it also improves our overall quality of life. Now, if we think about how the natural heart gets rid of carbon dioxide and waste, if we just think about our heart's posture, that we have to be in a position to get rid of waste, which is hurt, pain from trauma, bitterness, unforgiveness, shame, guilt, and all of those negative things that are keeping us from moving forward in our lives, whatever that may be or whatever that may look like for you, because we are all dealing with something individually, and what I might be dealing with is not the same thing that you're dealing with, but we all have something that can be considered toxins or that can be considered waste that we have to continuously work on and get rid of so that we can be in a space where we are properly functioning. Now, I want to take a minute and I really want to challenge us to do some work. And the first thing that I want us to do is that I really want us to take some time, spend some time with ourselves, and examine our heart condition. And I want us to take some time and examine what is holding us back from moving forward in our life mentally and emotionally. This requires for us to be so transparent with ourselves, because one thing that I have discovered is that we know ourselves better than anyone's. So, what better way to check our own heart condition by being honest and transparent with ourselves? And if we don't see ourselves in something that we are doing that maybe others see, but we don't see, I want us to really challenge ourselves to open our eyes and take a deep look within ourselves. And I really want us to see ourselves from a different lens. I really want us to examine some of those things that we really don't see, because sometimes we don't see ourselves. I've definitely been in positions to where there was something that I needed to work on. And initially, I did not see myself. However, it took for somebody being honest with me and telling me about myself for me to really sit back and think, am I really like that? Is that something that I really need to work on? So this is a chance for you to examine yourself. This is a chance for you to be honest with yourself. And I want you to ask yourself some questions. What are you still working on? What has you stuck? What are you still holding on to from the past and have not healed from? What are you dealing with internally? What are you dealing with in relationships? What are the weeds in your heart soil that have hurt you and caused you pain that you are struggling with? What have you not given yourself permission to address and talk about? What are you masking and covering up behind narcissistic behaviors and being mean and belittling others to make yourself feel good? What are you hiding behind your smile in the open, but yet when you get home, you're crying and feeling depressed at night? What is your issue or your issues? What have you not completely healed from? Those are some tough questions. Now, I'm going to ask myself those same questions because I also want to be in a space where I can continue to heal. and also get to a place where I feel like I've been completely made whole. As I was thinking about these questions, and as these questions came to me, the scripture in Proverbs 4:23 came to my mind. And that scripture says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." And for me, what this means to me is that we really need to guard our hearts, because our hearts is the source of our life. It holds the seat of our thoughts, our will, our conscience, and our emotions. And guarding our hearts, for me, requires us to maintain ownership of our own heart and perform maintenance on it when we need to, whether that's every day, whether that's twice a week, whatever that looks like for us individually. We have to perform maintenance on our hearts and care for it and provide the support that it needs, because we want to make sure that we are allowing ourselves to have a healthy heart, not just for our natural survival. However, we also need a healthy heart for our mental and emotional survival. This is getting rid of what does not serve us anymore. That's including people. We have to get rid of the things, the negative thoughts, all of the negative toxins that don't serve us anymore. And sometimes we have to get rid of people because people don't serve us anymore. All of those things that are contributing to us having a slow death, because sometimes we are holding on to things and we are allowing these toxins to maintain a seat in our mental, spiritual, and emotional capacities, that we are dying slowly and don't even realize it. The same thing when we don't take care of our heart, that our hearts, natural hearts, can be dying slowly because we are not performing the maintenance. We're not exercising. We're not eating the things that we need to eat for it to proper function. It's the same thing within our mental capacities, that we have to get rid of those things that don't serve us anymore. We don't want to allow ourselves to be in a space that we want to die mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. We want to be in a space to where we are taking care of ourselves and that we are putting ourselves in a position to wholeness, to maintain wholeness. One of the things that I want to say is that this podcast definitely may not be for everyone that tunes into it. However, for those of you that this podcast resonates with you, the way that you and I will maximize this experience is by opening our hearts to receive what it is for you, what it is for me. What you hear that applies to you or to your story, I really want you to grab a hold of that and let it speak to you in a way that you find healing, hope, and strength to keep you moving forward. Grab a hold to what seeds are being planted in your mind and allow them to be a source of water and produce continued growth for you. And as you continue to allow yourself to be watered as you listen to this podcast, and as you listen to the guests that come on this podcast and share their stories, I want you to give yourself permission to take one step at a time, because nobody has arrived. We all are working towards perfection that we won't gain on this earth, because we just won't obtain it. We will not receive perfection until God calls us home and until we obtain our heavenly bodies. So while we're here on earth, we are continuously going to be working, and we're going to continue to be doing the work. So we just have to give ourselves permission to take one step at a time. We have to open up our hearts to be in a posture to receive. Let go of what does not serve you anymore, including people. Be open to love and to give love. Be open to forgiveness and to forgive others, but most importantly, forgive yourself. Know that you are special. Tell yourself you are special. Tell yourself you are special in the eyes of God. And know that you are enough, and that you are worthy, and that you are beautiful, and that God has so much more for you in life. and that all of the painful and negative things you have experienced and the things that you are experiencing right now, even those things that you brought on yourself, this is not the end for you. I'm going to say that again. This is not the end for you. This is the beginning of closing the doors to fear, doubt, and rejection, and allowing yourself to be open to being vulnerable, to tend to the soil of your heart. Psalms 34:18-19 reminds us that the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. And for me, this just means that we are not alone. As we are on this podcast and sharing stories, know that we are not on an island by ourselves. Even those things that we are experiencing in life that we think that we are the only person going through them, know that somebody else is going through the same or similar thing, and that somebody else can relate to you and you're not alone. But most importantly, God is on our side and he has our back. He is nigh unto us. Even when our heart is broken, he wants to heal us. He doesn't want to leave us, and we're not alone. So remember that in order for you to receive the healing that you need, the motivation that you need, the encouragement that you need, the confidence that you need to keep pressing on, you have to open the door to your heart and allow yourself to be in a posture to receive and in a posture to cultivate yourself and to cultivate your heart to grow. Now, I'm so excited to see and hear your progress. So please share it with me. Send me an email. Tap in with me on social media and let me know how you are doing the work. Let me know what your progress looks like. And keep me posted. Keep me informed how you are making changes and how you are cultivating the growth of your healing mentally and emotionally by taking care of your heart's condition. I really appreciate you again for tuning in with me today on Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast. And I'm so excited to hear about your progress. I'm so excited to hear how you are starting your healing journey if you are just beginning. And if you are on your healing journey, I'm so excited to hear how you are growing and continuing to grow and making progress. So open the door to your heart. Don't be afraid to allow yourself to be in a space to receive. And I'm right along with you. Just because I'm the host of this podcast does not mean that I have arrived, because I definitely haven't arrived. And I am continuing to open the door to my heart and to receive, because I want to receive all the things that God has for me. And I want to be able to live an abundant life because I am experiencing mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being and healing and wholeness. So tap in with me. Until next time, Dr. Naisha here. I love you, God's people. Have a blessed one.